Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Umineko. Who's ready to watch Natsui get her butt kicked? I sure am. Cross had told her to go to bed, but she couldn't afford to lie around sleeping on an important day like this. However, she realized that she was the type to get excited easily, and that this sometimes held her husband back. So, though she didn't like it one bit, there was no way around it. It was probably close to the time for the break to end, and the family conference would begin once again in the dining hall. Her husband would have to protect the Ushiramiya family honor from those greedy siblings, all by himself. If she grew emotional by his side, she would just tie him down. Though she knew that quietly waiting here was the best way she could support him. That didn't make the waiting any easier. Natsui pulled the small box she kept treasures in out of the drawer. This was her secret box. Well, good job, Natsui, not secret anymore. Inside was everything from valuable items to mere rubbish. However, they were all precious, memorable treasures in Natsui's eyes. She pulled a small pouch out of the box. She stuck her hand inside of it. It was a kind of charm that her own family had given her when she had married. It was a spirit mirror to ward off evil. Her own face was reflected in the mirror. She wasn't as young as she once was. Recently, she had seen a bit of her parents and grandparents on her own face. So by staring at her reflection in the mirror like this, she felt as though her soul had returned to the family she had been born into.
お父様、お母様、夏日が不勉強なばかりに、夫の支えになれません。
Of course, her face in the mirror did not answer. However, Natsui continued.
夫を愛しているからこそ、私はここで待っています。しかし、愛は寄り添うものと、私は思ってしまいます。ここでこうしているのが一番の協力になると理屈では分かっているのに、そんな自分に惨めさを感じてしまうのです。辛いですね。愛ゆえに待つのは。
With a flop, a tear fell onto the mirror. Old, dear memories of her life at her parents' house rose up inside of her. Now is the time for her to follow her parents' example. When her father came home late, her mother would always sit up straight waiting for him, prepared for him to arrive at any moment. She would always wait for him, kneeling in the entrance hall. And no matter how late he came home, she would always wake up all the children and line them up to greet him. At the time, I only thought of her as being exceptionally strict. But at this age, I finally understood how strong she was, persevering in her love for her beloved husband, even after being left in charge of the house while he was out.
その夫への愛ゆえに、見知らぬ赤子を抱かされるのが許されなかったの。
The sudden voice made Natsui jump up and look about the room. Oh, don't mind me, I'm a spooky person. When she did, there was a Western lady wrapped in an extravagant dress.
誰です？
Natsui was confused. There was no one like this in this mansion. However, though this was her first time seeing her, it felt as though she had seen this person somewhere else. Her mind had gone blank with her anger at the ruffian who had snuck into her private room, and confusion over the appearance of someone she didn't know. So much so that it took quite a bit of time before she realized that this was the witch of the portrait.
あなたが19年前のあの日に見知らぬ赤子を殺めたことに。何の話ですか？
Beato had chosen Natsui as her sacrifice. She was Battler's enemy. Beato didn't understand much about the details of Battler's birth. However, she knew the fragment of the previous game, and knew that there was a chance that Battler was the baby that Natsui had pushed off of a cliff 19 years ago. Battler had used his blue wedge to protect Natsui from certain false charges. But since that might have been related to Battler's own confession, Beato still viewed Natsui as an enemy who might have forced Battler to live a painful life.
夫への愛ゆえに、夫の血を引かぬ赤子を殺した罪を、私は愛ゆえに問いません。何の話か分かりません。出て行って、ここは私の部屋です。ならば、私の愛ゆえに、あなたを殺すこともまた問わないでください。
Beato slowly stuck out her arms and made as if to grab something in empty space. That grab bound itself around Natsui's neck. Natsui's heels lifted up, and a faint purple shape appeared around her neck. Natsui frantically scratched at her neck, trying to stop whatever was strangling her, but there was nothing there. So to an outsider, it just looked as though Natsui was standing on her toes in anguish, scratching at her own neck.
愛し合う二人たちが皆決意を見せました。私のバトラさんへの思いがそれに劣っているとは思いません。私が19年前のあなたの罪を咎めないように、私も自らのこの罪を咎めません。
As Natsui twisted in anguish, something she had been grasping fell from her grip. Since it had fallen by her feet, Beato dropped her gaze to see what it was. It was Natsui's spirit mirror. Oh, that's convenient. When she peered into it, there was a sound like a burst of electricity. That sound released Natsui from the invisible hands and made Beato topple backwards like a doll. How do you make a question mark come out of a cough? Coughing, Natsui tried to comprehend what was going on around her. Beato rolled over and, dizzy, as though she had just bumped her head, she slowly tried to stand up. Her eyes were bewildered, as though even she didn't really understand what had happened.
これは何なんですか？これは意外だ。雲の巣を触っても平気だったそなたが霊境はダメだというのか。私にも何が何だか分かりません。一体何が。
She had thought that only Beato, the Elder, possessed the non-human weak points, such as getting burned by spiderwebs and wards and having her powers sealed by spirit mirrors. However, for some reason, the spirit mirror alone could apparently affect Beato as well. Even Beato couldn't understand what about the spirit mirror had such an overpowering effect on her. But Natsui was different. She instantly realized that the reason for the hesitation of this unearthly being, this witch of the portrait, must be the power of the mirror. So she rapidly crawled across the floor and picked up the mirror. Then she stuck it out so Beato could see it. Beato still didn't know what was happening. So, still sitting down, she looked straight at it. And this time, both of them understood the situation completely. Beato realized that the mirror was working some hateful power against her. And Natsui realized that the spirit mirror had the power to repel witches.
鏡がどうして。それはお前が横島の魔女だからです。霊言新たかなるこの霊境は邪悪な存在の全てを退けるのです。それを向けないで。
With the spirit mirror still held out, Natsui cautiously closed the gap between them. She was cautious, so as to prevent the other from suddenly lashing out and stealing the mirror. But she steadily moved to corner this evil.
あなたが何者なのか私わかるのは、あなたは私を殺そうとしたこと、そしてこの霊境にひるむ邪悪な存在であるということです。退きなさい、邪悪め。
Beato didn't understand what was happening to herself. She didn't know why she had to fear the spirit mirror. However, when she tried to look at the bright light let off by the spirit mirror, it pierced her eyes. Though she didn't understand why she must be afraid, she did understand that she must be afraid. By now, Beato realized that the spirit mirror was both terrifying and harmful. As it came closer to her, she felt an increasingly stronger burning sensation over her whole body, as though someone was approaching her with a hot iron. She couldn't even open her eyes because of the mirror's bright, painful glint. I can just imagine the recap for this one, the manga recap. It's no use. Why? Why is this musty mirror so... If I lose here, I'll be the only one to fail this trial. Just like George-san and Shannon-san, Tezuka-san and Cannon-san. I also want Battler-san to acknowledge me and treasure me. And even though I finally admitted that, I, alone, in a place like this.
諦めちゃうの？あなただけが？
信じるんだ。愛の奇跡は必ず起こる。
I love Battler-san. I want him to notice me. And I want him to acknowledge and accept my feelings. If my reason for calling him father and dedicated to him, myself to him, was out of duty towards a parent of mine, I would have been satisfied with no reward. That had been a deception to fool myself with. I love Battler-san, and I want him to see me. I accept it. I won't turn away any longer. I was born because I love Battler-san, and I want him to love me back.
だからこんなところで負けられないんです。退散なさい、横島なる者よ。ここにあなたの居場所は存在しません。
Her determination had come too late. If she had it since the beginning, she probably would have finished Natsui off right then without any fear. Because she had wavered, it had taken time to kill Natsui, and things had ended up like this. But now, I am resolved. I want to love Battler-san. I want him to love me.
だからここで負けられない。バトラさんのために私は生まれてきたのだから。
そう、それが
聞きたかった。
Just after a sound like a beetle banging off all the walls in the room. The spirit mirror was knocked out of Natsui's outstretched hand. It fell onto the floor, and the stake flying around the room pierced through it with a crash.
傲慢なルシファー、ここに。久しぶりの獲物が古ぼけた鏡一枚だなんて、私を愚弄するにも程があるわ。
Feel like we cheated. Power of love allows you to cheat.
ルシファーさあ、ベアトリーチェ様、試練の遂行を。逃げられます。誰か来てください。誰か。
Now that the spirit mirror, her last ray of hope had been smashed, and the number of strange demons had increased, Natsui could do nothing but run for it. However, if she made a scene and people gathered, the anti-magic toxin would burn Beato. Now was her last chance.
ありがとう、ルシファーさん。覚悟、後ろ見やナツイ。
Once again, Beato choked the thin air. This time, she wouldn't let her escape. She had to end Natsui's pain right away before it got too drawn out. But her power wasn't enough. Ah, good, this is my second spirit mirror. Though Natsui scratched at her neck, she also struggled to escape from the room. Her shaking hand stretched out to the lock on the door. A closed room is one of the definitions that makes a witch. Just unlocking the door made the anti-magic toxin strengthen a little. Since Beato was at her limit even within a closed room, if Natsui undid that lock, Beato's power would weaken immediately, and Natsui would surely escape into the hallway. Their strengths were matched. However, Natsui began to surpass Beato slightly. The power of the living to live is fundamentally stronger than the power of magic. Of course, Beato was mustering all her might. However, Natsui was just slightly stronger.
十分だ。ルシファー、やれ。
Lucifer, can you cheat for me again?
ギョイ。
Lucifer transformed into a stake, and, like the time she had smashed Natsui's spirit mirror, flew violently around the room. Then she struck Natsui's forehead. Natsui crumpled slowly. When Beato saw this, she also fell to her knees, breathing hard.
ねえ、ゼパル、これってありなの？ベアトリーチェは自分の力だけで試練を成し遂げていないわ。
そうだね、フルフル。確かに試練は誰の助けも借りずに成し遂げなくてはならない。
でもね、ひょっとしたらそれには例外があるんじゃないかしら。
愛する二人は互いで一人だもの。これは手助けじゃない。
Okay, sure.
バトラさん。
たかだか第一の晩からハラハラさせるな、お前は。
申し訳ございません。お言いつけを守らなくて。
お言いつけ？
その部屋でおとなしくしていなくて。
Beato hung her head apologetically. When he saw this, Battler scratched his head uncomfortably.
それを言ったら俺も申し訳なかった。言葉を選ばなかった。
いいえ、お父様。いえ、バトラさんは何も悪いことはありません。
いいぜ、好きに呼べばいい。
え？
Battler had always looked at the new Beatrice sternly. However, that was gone from his expression now.
確かにかつてのお前は俺をバトラと呼びつけで呼んでいた。俺は最初お前にそれと同じ呼び方を求めて押し付けていたかもしれない。しかしそんなのに意味はないんだ。お前はベアトだがお前はお前だ。好きに呼べばいい。
バトラさん。
そうだな、その呼び方がいいな。さすがにお父様は俺の趣味じゃねえぜ。
Earlier, she had hesitated just to say Battler's name at all. If Battler had told her to say his name without honorifics, she couldn't have done so right now. And even if she had, that might have hurt Battler even more. However, now she was allowed to call Battler by his name. If you just looked into her eyes, there would be no need to describe just how happy this made her feel.
ゼパルとフルフルに聞いた。おかしなゲームが始まっているようだな。
はい。勝手なことをしてすみません。
いや、いい。そういう無軌道で何を始めるかわからないところも実にお前らしい。それにまあゲームの趣旨も聞いてる。二人一組で挑むのが正しいことになってるらしいな。
その通りです、バトラ卿。
もしも見事我らの試練を勝ち残れたなら、
我らはあなたたち二人を祝福し、魔法の奇跡を授けましょう。
こいつらがベアトの黄金蝶のブローチに力を与えてたらしい。だからその効果は保証済みってわけさ。俺とお前の腐れ縁ももう随分になる。たまにはこういう遊びがあってもいいだろうぜ。
Oh, Battler, look at you. Now you're not being a jerk for no reason. Oh, it's so nice.
バトラさん。
おや、聞いたかいフルフル。バトラ卿も試練に参加するようだ。
驚くには値しない。だってこれは最初から分かっていたことだもの。
ようこそ我らの試練へ、バトラ卿。ではあなたは誰を生贄に？
俺の仕事はすでに終わってる。確認するといい。
かしこまりました、バトラ卿。さあフルフル、確認してこよう。
そうしましょう。でもゼバル、これで愛し合う6人はみんな試練を成し遂げてしまったわ。次はどうすればいいかしら。
6人の覚悟は本物だ。さらに次の試練で試すとしよう。
The two noisy demons disappeared. It seemed that they had left to go check on the sacrifice Battler had killed. And that they had done so also so that Battler and Beato, who could finally look each other in the eye and talk, could have some time alone.
ここまでの物語はいかがですか？
When suddenly asked this question, Angie immediately came to her senses. Then, she realized that she had been immersed in the other's tale. She felt a bit defeated and tried to look displeased.
愛の試練云々で巧みにごまかしてるけど、ちゃっかりと6人が死んで第一の番を構成してるわ。うまいものね。
ありゃ、ほんとだ。こいつは気づかなかった。
Amakusa clapped his hands as though he'd been outsmarted. Even though he'd figured it out before me, he played the fool.
愛し合う恋人たちの数がたまたま6人だっただけのこと。それが第一の番とうまく合致したのは偶然半分、
様式美半分。その方が運命的で面白い。
人間は無意味な2つの事象を無理やり関連づけようとする悪癖がある。それを運命的と読み解かせるのが読み物の騙しでしょ。
お嬢はディスティニーとかミラクルとかそういうのに冷たいタイプらしいですな。
UFO と同じよ。誰もが知ってるけど誰も見たことないものだわ。
そいつはクールな例えだ。
といつもの私なら愛だの幻想だのはミステリーには不要な無駄なシーンねとばっさり行きたいところだけど、それはおこのぎさんに否定されたわ。そういう愛のない見方だけでは真実に迫れないってね。
ああ、おこのぎの旦那の殺し文句ですかい。愛がなければ見えない。
That's familiar.
それそれ。人の家族を物語の中で勝手に殺すことに対する怒りは置いておいて、あえてこの物語を書いた八条先生に敬意を表して言うなら、その描写には意味があることになる。何しろこれだけの文章量を割いて散々愛だの試練だの語ってる。つまりこれがこの物語のテーマでありキーワードだってことになるわ。
おや、赤インク以外で書いた文字は全て読むに値しないとまで言い切る御人も多いというのに、光栄なるかな人の子よ。黒い文字も読んでくれて。
物語は書き手が何かを伝えるために書くものよ。そしてそれはどういうわけか、直接書いたら無粋という奥ゆかしい面倒な作法がある。愛がなければ真実に至れない云々という描写はこれまでの作品にも品質するわ。それがこの新作ではさらに顕著。書き手が一番伝えたくて考えてほしいのはそれってことになるわ。
When you think about it, there have been many scenes about love ever since Beato first appeared. Even the first time she appeared before Shannon, she spoke clearly about how love was the single element of the world. And the golden butterfly brooch she had given was also an item for love. She had said that she'd enjoyed sowing seeds of love and watching complications arise. And when Shannon stopped borrowing her power, the reason for her argument was also love. After her interactions with battlers started up in full, scenes about love were toned down for a while. But the "without love it cannot be seen" definition of magic had been mentioned repeatedly. Then, in the tale right before this one, where Beato had become like a doll, the scenes shown made it seem almost as though Battler and Beato accepted each other as rivals. Or possibly something more. In the end, Battler had regained some memory, and his impression of Beato had undergone a complete change. And then, this game. From the beginning until now, the word love has been repeated over and over again.
あなたが書いた物語は愛が何度も繰り返される。でもそれはマリアお姉ちゃんの主張でもベアトリーチェの主張でもない。八条東也の主張だわ。
そうです。それこそが私が語りたいこと。そして私なりの答えなのです。
答え？じゃあつまり12年前の事件は全ておかしな悪魔の愛の試練で引き起こされたと？
バカバカしい。私はあんたの恋愛小説を読みにここまで来たんじゃないわ。私が知りたいのはあんたが至ったと自称する真実よ。
愚かなるかな人の子よ。これだけ文章を割いてまだ伝わらないというのですか。
With an obviously condescending gaze, Hachijo shrugged. It was clear that she was trying to provoke Angie. She was probably hinting that Angie should just go home if she was annoyed. If you're going to read my noble work and not even attempt to see whether you understand it, then get out. Normally, Angie would already have thrown a fit and left. However, Angie couldn't do that. Though she didn't like someone else toying with her family's fates in a story, she was growing increasingly certain of something else as she read through the story. Just as Hachijo's followers said, this tale really does have the same presence, the same sin as the tales written by Beatrice. The author is certainly different. However, because it reached to the real truth, it had the same sin. Angie was beginning to acknowledge this. Hachijo Toya was one who had reached Beatrice's truth. An endless witch like Beatrice who could add to the endlessly stretching parallel worlds of the cat box.
ベアトリーチェの真実にたどり着いたものならば、私でなくとも新たな物語を紡げるでしょう。今回の原稿をもってきっと私以外にも真実に至るものが必ず現れる。そのものもまた新たな物語を紡ぐ資格を得るのです。
どんどん無限の魔女が増えていくわ。
そう。そして何人もの無限の魔女たちがベアトリーチェの猫箱の物語を増やしていく。増えれば増えるほどまた新たに真実に至るものが現れる。そうすることで一番最初の無限の魔女ベアトリーチェがあれだけの枚数の手紙に物語を記してボトルに詰めて海に投じた労力が初めて報われるのです。あなたは私に怒りの言葉をぶつけ席を立つこともできた。しかしそれをしませんでした。なぜ？
悔しいけれど、あんたの物語の中に何かの真相、もしくはヒントがあることを認めつつあるからよ。
I already have my own ideas. However, that's no more than looking with a single eye. Unless I accept a different viewpoint from my own and look at things from more than one angle, I'll never be able to see the truth in 3 dimensions. That's my interpretation of without love it cannot be seen.
それでよい、人の子よ。後ろ宮家の最後の生き残りであるあなたが真実に至り、無限の魔女になることを運命も待ち望んでいるでしょう。私という存在などあなたという真の継承者を覚醒させるためのただの道しるべに過ぎないのだから。エンジェ・ベアトリーチェ。
Sometimes I don't understand what she's saying. However, she knows something. And maybe she actually has reached the truth, as she claims. In other words, I don't know the truth even after the 2 message bottles Beatrice left behind. And I've read several tales with hints afterwards.
これはヒントという名の挑戦であり、挑発なわけだわ。
いかにも。
上等じゃない。あんたがたどり着いたという真実を私も掴み取ってやるわ。やはり私はここに訪れるべきだったんだわ。
その通り。未だ至れぬから私が招いたのです。人の子よ。
Let the truth I see and the truth you see overlap. Just as you see things with a single eye, so do I. Now that I've found you, I can finally look at the truth with both eyes. Erica, you're back. Don't worry, we'll get to you and your strange relationships later. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. And I will see you next time for some more Umineko, where we can see strange relationships that she's had. Probably kinky ones with duct tape. Bye.